ECU is now R1.
It comes with an elite status and a lot of prestige, and you put us in the category of the top 5% of research institutions in the United States when you're named an R1 institution, and we're very proud of achieving that designation.
While that sounds great, why does it really matter?
It matters because you think about the type of faculty that you will be able to attract moving forward. I think that is such a huge thing. It's that eliteness, right? It's the fact that we are the best of the best. As an educator, you spend a lot of time worrying about other people's children. So when you think about that, you want to make sure students have a great 4 years here at ECU, but also go out and be great.
And that looks to literally impact tens of thousands of people every year.
No one does it better in terms of delivering on the mission with people that care about it every single day than ECU. I'm so proud to work here. This is the type of institution in higher education that actually makes a difference.
I'm Dr. Rich Klindworth, and we're talking about how East Carolina University is now a Research One institution and everything that goes along with it in Season 6, Episode 2 of Talk Like a Pirate. And we are joined now by ECU Chancellor Dr. Philip Rogers and Dr. Bhibha, who is an associate professor in kinesiology in ECU's College of Health and Human Performance. Thank you both for taking part today.
Great to be with you.
Thank you so much, Rich.
So we are going to be celebrating ECU's R1 designation, or Research One, and we will do that in just a few minutes. But first, we need to get to know you two a little bit better, because this is the first time you both have been on Talk Like a Pirate. So, Dr. Rogers, we'll go with you first. If you can give us a little bit of your background and why you chose to come to ECU.
Absolutely. Well, I'm proud to be on Talk Like a Pirate. I've heard about it. There's been a lot of great guests here, and I'm finally 4 years into the role. I'm on the show.
Is my face blushing at this point in embarrassment?
It's great to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you here.
I'm so honored to be the 12th Chancellor of East Carolina University. I'm wrapping up year 4, moving into year 5, and as I tell prospective students and their parents and families, it's the best decision my family has ever made to come back to this institution. It is a place that shaped us as a family in meaningful ways. We have so many ECU graduates that are a part of our family, and it's nice to be able to give back to an institution that you love and that you really care about, because when you go to work every day, it's meaningful.
And you say come back to. You're a Greenville native, and you also worked here before.
I did. I worked here for about 7 years and took a short, brief hiatus up in Washington, D.C. at the American Council on Education, where I was senior vice president. And I like to say I went there to learn all the great things about American higher education so I could then bring them back to ECU and put them into action at a place that I love. And we've been doing that for a while now, and I think we've seen some good results as an outcome.
And we'll be highlighting that here in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Dr. Doss, similar format, a little bit of your background and why you came to ECU.
Absolutely. So I work in kinesiology, as you mentioned, and my research area focuses on physical activity and public health as a way to improve quality of life in adults. I'm born and raised in Central Illinois, and I've been here. I'll be finishing up my 12th year here in May, which seems so hard to believe, but it has been a whirlwind experience, but really rewarding. I came to ECU because I was so driven and impressed by the focus on student success and the role that students play in our research, from undergrads all the way to PhD students, and that really appealed to me when I was looking for a job and a place to call home.
So ECU is now an R1 institution, Research One institution. What does that mean?
Well, it's a classification that a lot of people in this country pay attention to. For let's see, more than 50 years now, the Carnegie classification system has been categorizing like institutions in the United States. And so they do a number of different classifications. The primary one that they focus on is called the basic classification. They take similar institutions with similar missions. Think about if you were to do a Myers-Briggs type test as an individual, it's the Myers-Briggs of higher education. In addition to the basic, they do a social and economic mobility classification, which is a new one that we just established as a part of an institutional roundtable that helps categorize institutions based on their mission and whether they're graduating students on time. They do a lot of special classifications like the ones we've received in community engagement and leadership for a public purpose, but the one that garners the most attention nationally is the research classification. And they categorize institutions in 3 separate research areas. If you're doing a minimal amount of research, you're considered a research institution. If you're doing high research activity, which is more than $2.5 million a year in expenditures, you're considered a Research 2 institution. And if you're a very high research activity institution, then you're considered an R1. And it comes with an elite status and a lot of prestige. And there's, 3,941 institutions that were categorized by Carnegie this year. Just over 180 were named Research 1 institutions. So you put us in the category of the top 5% of research institutions in the United States when you're named an R1 institution. And we're very proud of achieving that designation.
Did you know this was coming?
I did. I had a little bit of a special insider's knowledge. I worked with 17 other college presidents around the country to redefine this research classification system. So I had a hint that it was coming because I was one of the folks that helped design it, and was very proud that we were able to land where we landed.
So Dr. Doss, why does this matter?
Oh, it matters because you think about the type of faculty that you will be able to attract moving forward. I think that is such a huge thing. I was trained at 2 R1 institutions for my PhD and my postdoc. And when you think about who we want coming to ECU to be the next generation of our faculty, our teachers, our researchers, that is such a huge bonus to have that R1 status. And as the Chancellor mentioned, it's that eliteness, right? It's the fact that we are the best of the best. And when we're thinking about who we want to recruit to be the next set of pirates, that's amazing to think about.
And how long did this take? Because I know we were already heavy in research, but to get this R1 status, was it years or?
Yeah, and I might add on to Dr. Doss's comments. Not only does it help us recruit folks, but it helps us retain great faculty. And I'm pointing in this direction because she's one of our star faculty members, and being able to maintain a status like this is a great thing for retaining the best of the best too. And so we're glad you're here, and we want you to stay for a long time. This, like I said, it wasn't evolution. If you had applied the metrics that we have now and the thresholds we have now to ECU, we would have been an R1 institution 5 years ago. The trajectory that we've been on has been a very positive one from a research standpoint. We did, back in 2018, less than $50 million a year in sponsored research. And if you fast forward to 2023, we did almost $86 million. And so we've had, our faculty have been working very hard over the last 5 to 7 years to continue to enhance the competitiveness of our research profile. And then when you transfer that into expenditures, which is the metric that's used by NSF to determine the Carnegie thresholds, we've gone from less than 30 million up to 67, and that's a pretty impressive trajectory. And so we're proud that we've maintained that over time. If we were using the old metrics, it would not have been focused on the research expenditures. Our challenge would have been in the doctoral degree production, because the old metric lane required you to have doctorates in a wide array of fields. And so I like to use NCA&T as an example. They're a STEM-focused institution, and if they wanted to be an R1, they would have had to produce doctorate degrees in social sciences and humanities, which would be a disconnect in some ways from their mission and what they were created to do. And so the new metrics incentivize us to pursue mission-aligned degree programs and research. And so we're excited that the direction that we're on is consistent with what we've been trying to achieve in the past. And so 5-6 years in the making, and we've landed in the right place.
And it's funny, you just led into the next question, talking about mission. So want to talk a little bit about ECU's mission and how this R1 designation will absolutely tie into it.
I always think about our mission for regional transformation, thinking about what are we doing for Eastern North Carolina and the residents of Eastern North Carolina. And what this allows us to do is bring in a variety of faculty and students who are really committed to the region in kinesiology and health and human performance, we have a lot of students who are from east of 95, and they want to get their degrees here, and they want to go back to their hometowns and make that change there using what they've obtained here at ECU. And so allowing them different opportunities to put different tools in their toolbox is what this R1 designation does for us when we think about it in terms of the mission.
Yeah, I would agree. What I often say is that when you ask the question about how long is this in the making, in so many ways, this is really about ECU doing what it does best and doing it in our own backyard, to your point around regional transformation. We are an institution that thrives off of our mission, and R1 status is simply a derivative of us pursuing that mission and accomplishing it each and every day. And so student success, public service, regional transformation, our faculty are doing research in all of those areas. And as I said in one of the intro videos when we announced this, yes, it's a prestigious designation, but more than anything, it indicates that we are incredibly successful at what we were built to do as a university, what we were designed to do, what the state has asked us to do. We're not being pulled off that. We're still laser focused on it, and we'll continue to grow if we keep focused in that space.
We talked about regional transformation, student success. I know you have a lot of stories, Dr. Doss, on student success within the line of research and some of the stuff that you're doing.
Absolutely. Both of you have seen me speak at other things, and student success is what I do, and it's what I do best, and it's what I love. And I think about who we're teaching in HHP primarily and in kinesiology. Our students are pre-health professionals of some sort. They are either going to be the next physical therapists, strength and conditioning coaches, physicians here in Eastern North Carolina. And our course curriculum are fantastic, but what research allows them to do is really get that hands-on experience working with people to develop those skills such as communication skills, critical thinking, time management. How do you sell physical therapy to a patient who may not see the value of that? And that's what research has allowed our students to do, is to get that experience in different ways. And when we think about, if I can share just one quick story, I had a student a few years ago. She approached me, this would have been fall of 2016 or 2017. I'm starting to lose a few years there, but she was in our major, and she was really excited about some of the work I was doing with physical activity promotion in chronic diseases. And she was an honors college student and wanted to do her signature honors project with me. So we worked together for 3.5 years, and she was an out-of-state student, ended up doing 2 years of MedServe, which is a fellowship program in the Charlotte area, and then was accepted into ECU's PA program. Graduated this last December. She graduated and won the award of the Student of the Class award. And instead of going back to Delaware, where she's from, and taking her skills with her, she's staying here in Goldsboro. And she's working in an ER as a PA there in Goldsboro. So it just demonstrates, this is someone we've brought from Delaware. She got a great 4 years of her undergrad experience here, got another 2 years of phenomenal training in our PA program. And instead of going back home, she said, no, this is where I want to stay.
And one of the things that I like with the research that we have here at ECU is that it's not just graduate students. It's not just the master's, the doctoral, or the PA students. It's also undergrads. You work with a lot of undergrads with projects, don't you?
I do. I work with a lot of them. I've had a great deal of success with a partnership with the Honors College. Dean Fraley and Dr. Ford know, exercise physiology is one of the most popular majors in the Honors College. So we have a lot of those students who work with us. And so I've worked with them, helping them understand what's the role of research in your clinical role. How do you use evidence-based practice when you go out to be the next physical therapist or occupational therapist? And our students, they are going to conferences such as the Southeast American College of Sports Medicine to present their research. They're getting exposure to other faculty and other schools and the type of research. Lots of great mechanisms we have here with the Undergraduate Research and Creative Award that our students can get. So there's a lot of different opportunities, and I think that's really where that R1 designation really helps as well, is showing that from undergrad all the way to our professional programs.
And it's great whenever you see the students that are undergrads and then we keep them through to the Brody School of Medicine. And there's that continuing research all along the way. It just gets bigger and better.
Absolutely. And they understand then how what they learned in our labs translates into clinical practice. And I think that's really what we want, right? At the end of the day, we want clinicians who use evidence-based science to make the decisions.
She's connecting our whole mission together as she's talking. And it's one of the anecdotes that I think is so cool about ECU is that you can begin a relationship in the classroom or in an independent study or in an honors college project. You can take that student success vision that Dr. Das has and apply it to the research space. And then when you take a student like that and you place them out in a rural area in North Carolina, they begin to develop relationships with people in those communities. They begin to become a part of the culture and the environment in which they're working or doing research, and they're attracted and they're connected to those spaces. Then they graduate and they want to go back. And I think that's something that we find successful at ECU in a number of different colleges and schools. I think about the dental school, where we have students that are going out into community service learning centers. We keep more doctors in the state of North Carolina than any other school, in the medical school in the state, particularly those that practice in rural areas, impacting regional transformation. All of that's embedded in having a strong research portfolio that is connected to student success. And so you can draw a through line and connect it to all these different aspects. And what it really comes down to in so many ways are great faculty who are willing to invest the time and the energy in these students when they first walk in the door, and keep them connected through meaningful academic and research and student life experiences. And that's what makes the wheels turn on ECU's mission. We've seen it in action today.
And it's the mentorship, though. I mean, you can have the most brilliant faculty, but if they're not willing to give and take with the students. Do you see that with a lot of your colleagues? I mean, I'm assuming you do.
Oh, 100%. And we think of mentorship as one small thing, but it's not. You know, if you walk through the hallways of Minges, you would see my colleagues working with a student to help them understand difficult concepts on an exam or helping them work on an abstract. But kinesiology and HHP as a whole, we are so student-focused and student-centric. We want our students to succeed. We want them to have great experiences here.
And I can attest to it, not to bring myself too much into it, but with my master's and my doctorate here at ECU, I mean, the faculty, the mentorship, the people I still work with on certain research topics I'm still working on. I mean, it's not like it even goes away whenever you graduate.
It's a lifelong connection that we have to build from a cultural standpoint. There's so many alumni that open up their doors to ECU graduates and existing students as interns, and now you're opening up the door to a fourth pathway: student success, public service, regional transformation through research, and then it opens up into good lifelong careers for our graduates. And so we're excited to see the lines connect and to see our mission evolve in this way.
So we know the importance of R-1, the designation, for our students and for our faculty and for the reputation of the university. But do you think students understand it yet?
You're in the classroom. What do you think?
I think students are slowly understanding it. You know, it's one of those things that they don't get it until they see it. So I think a lot of our graduate students 100% understand that, right? Our master's and our PhD students, because of the classes they take and the seminars that they're doing, they're getting that. And I would say some of our undergrads do, but as a whole, I think a lot of our students don't see that connection quite yet, but give it a few more months. I am sure by the time our fall cohort runs around, they'll be understanding what a prestigious thing this is and what that means for them and their degree, right? Remember, it's value added to their degree as well.
Yeah, I was just going to, sorry to interrupt, but I was going to say, yeah, whenever they are showing their resume for a future job.
Yeah, do you know who does see it? Parents. Mm-hmm. Parents see it. Now, I'll just set the scene. This past Sunday morning, 8 o'clock, right in the main campus student center, we brought in I don't know how many, probably 40 or 50 Brinkley Lane Scholar finalists. This is our top academic scholarship program at the university. Almost $80,000 study abroad experiences in Italy and France and England and all over the world. Experiential learning opportunities. These are the brightest, high-achieving students that attend ECU, and it's one of the most competitive scholarship programs in our state country. I always speak to that group first thing that they do when they walk in the door on Selection Sunday. Within minutes of walking through those hallways, parents started asking me, tell me about the R1 designation. Tell me what that means for your institution. And then I got up in front of the group and I said, this is an exciting week because we were just announced an R1 institution. The room erupted into applause, and it started from the parents in the back. And so, a lot of the data show that student choice in terms of where they go to college is most influenced by their parents or someone, an authority figure, a mentor that's helping them think through their college experience. And so as we roll out more information about the R1 work, we are going to be targeting it towards folks who can help the students understand this in a deeper way and what the advantages are as they move through their college experience.
Yeah, I like how you said value added. It gives value to the education, or an additional value to the education. One of the things I wanted to talk about is experiential learning. How is this going to expand that? And experiential learning would be learning on the job, so to speak, with research or in classes. Will this expand it at all?
I would certainly think so, especially when you're able to translate research into commercialized opportunities. And we have a number of faculty. I think of Dr. Rukia Van Dross Anderson in the Brody School of Medicine, who's developed cancer therapeutics to address challenges like melanoma. And she has been able to successfully move through what many people call the valley of death of entrepreneurship, where you get a particular research project to a certain stage, and then it just can't get the momentum to get over the line to commercialize into an industry product or a company. And she's been able to get through that process with the help from an organization called NC Innovation with $1 million grant. Well, she'll launch Claridel Pharmaceuticals to help address this need in Eastern North Carolina, and with that is likely to come plenty of internships and experiential learning opportunities for students who are interested in that particular area. And we could go on and on and on. Nathan Hudson, our physics professor, who's doing blood, heart, and lung research around vascular disease. College of Engineering and Technology is doing work on with a Department of Defense grant around improving warfighter systems. When you have faculty doing research like that, and then in some instances commercializing it into practical, applied, real-world problem-solving activities, that just creates space for students to come in and learn in practical, on-the-job ways. And you're a prime example. You're doing all kinds of things like that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say what we're doing with experiential learning as a whole right now is amazing. We have lots of faculty across the university and then in HHP primarily that do a lot of that work. But you think about the grant opportunities, the corporation opportunities that we can have for some corporate funding sponsorships to put these students in place, to put them in a Goldsboro hospital or into a family clinic or a physical therapy setting. That's amazing, and it's going to make our students so competitive for these professional schools, but also when they go out into the workforce.
And I'm sure that there's the snowball effect too. It's successful for one corporation, it's successful for another, and it just keeps building that ECU is becoming that go-to.
No doubt about it. I mean, we're building relationships with companies like Thermo Fisher right here in Greenville that need chemists and biologists and folks with physics degrees, and we are a ready-made resource for the best and brightest talent coming out of higher education that can walk right into their company and be ready on day one. And that's part of what we achieve to do at ECU through that student success mission. Graduate folks on time, graduate them with as minimal debt as possible, and then prepare them to go out and get a good job or go back to a high-quality graduate program just like you did. Thankfully at ECU, Rich.
Absolutely. It's the only place I bleed purple, not to keep with the biology line of questioning, but yeah, it was a phenomenal experience, and I can speak to the experiential learning. For me, that was the best part of both programs, but specifically the doctorate in educational leadership, getting to work on something and having something to show for it beyond just the degree.
Well, you're the prime example, because we're using what you produced out of your doctoral program, and it's making a difference in the admissions space. And we've got real people out in rural counties that are going to these events that you designed, Let's Connect, right?
Yeah.
And they otherwise would not have had a chance to be exposed to ECU, and it's making a difference in our enrollment portfolio. It's bringing in students who are first generation, who would never have been exposed to undergraduate research opportunities. we have living, breathing examples here today.
The only thing, and I'll probably cut this because I don't want to talk about myself, but
No, we're bringing it up.
I will say though, in all seriousness, whenever I was in undergraduate 20 some years ago, because I graduated in '01, I never thought about research. It was like, research. Once I got into it, I mean, it is that bug that now I'm almost a year post dissertation defense, and I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to publish this stuff? And even beyond what my dissertation was, the different programs I'm working on, where am I going to publish? And I'm really ramping up to start throwing that all out there. But it's that love of research all of a sudden that just hit me, and I credit the program. But anyway, that was just my aside there. But I had to say that. Now that we are R1, great, we're celebrating, it's fantastic. What are our challenges?
Well, I think, the metrics and the thresholds are not going to just be steady, right? When you look at the new thresholds that we developed as a R1 institution based on the NSF HERD survey, you have to be able to do $50 million a year in research expenditures in order to achieve R1 status. And you, based on federal IPEDS data, you have to produce at least 70 research doctorates a year. Well, they're not going to leave those thresholds at 50 and 70 forever. And they evaluate institutions every 3 years. And so I would fully expect, based on my good pal Mushtaq Gunja, who's the executive director of Carnegie, as he shared with me, for those thresholds to creep up just a little bit every year. And so will it go from 50 million in expenditures to 55 or 60 or 65? We don't know quite yet what that's going to be or what the research doctorate threshold is going to be. So the pressure will be on a little bit to continue to see incremental progress in those areas year after year. But we're going to have to watch that carefully. So I think sustainability is going to be the key for us, making sure we're investing in the right areas, preparing and supporting faculty on their research journeys and doctoral students as they move through the process too.
Collaboration-wise, how will R1 steer us, or will it?
I think it opens up a lot of opportunity for collaborations with other R1 institutions and thinking about the interdisciplinary nature of some of our work. It allows those silos to be broken down. I'm a researcher I have colleagues in nutrition, which makes us a nice fit with kinesiology, but I also have a unique collaboration with a colleague over in music therapy here with Dr. Adrienne Steiner-Brett. She and I collaborate on a yoga and music therapy intervention right now. So I think for moving forward, it will allow faculty to be more adventurous, if you will, with their collaborations, not sticking to those safe spaces of this is who our fields typically collaborate with, thinking innovatively again to make those next set of research findings and scientific findings for a greater impact.
Yeah, I love that word, adventurous. I mean, that connects right with our strategic plan, future-focused and innovation-driven. And I think it's going to be one of those spaces where we, sometimes the word risk is a bad word, but I think we can take smart, calculated, strategic risks in the right spaces. It will allow not only interdisciplinary research collaboration like she was describing between different colleges or between different departments, but I think you mentioned earlier the value added of collaborating with other institutions. And we've seen some of that on our campus. Our dental school is collaborating with the University of Florida right now on a $3.7 million grant to support underserved patients in rural areas, and how we're developing the model for that for the nation. And when you can go into a grant process with another R1 institution, that's a signal to a grant maker or to a federal agency that you mean business, and that you've got the best and the brightest at the table to drive the outcomes that they're looking for. And so whether it's individual collaboration, college-based collaboration, institutional collaboration, and one of the great things about being ECU is that we're in a 17-campus university system. And so there's 3 other R1s in our system, 1 other outside of our state system that's a private institution. And so the partnership opportunities are ripe.
How are the recent policy changes nationally going to impact this R1 and ECU?
Well, it's a good question, and it's a fluid, dynamic environment that is literally changing by the minute every single day. And so we're keeping our eyes and our ears open, and we're continuing to seek good guidance from various different sources around the country. But the big point that I'm making in the midst of all of the change that's happening, and I think it's healthy to have public scrutiny on higher education, because that means people care about it, and that means people want to see it be successful. And we welcome that and we embrace it. But what I've been sharing with folks, including our members of Congress who care deeply about the success of ECU, is that if you look specifically at the economic impact that research alone has on this region and on this institution, it's transformative for being able to pursue regional efforts throughout Eastern North Carolina. Research alone in 2024 created 617 jobs east of I-95. It increased the regional GDP of Eastern North Carolina by $126 million. We're creating jobs, we're creating new companies, we're adding income into the economy, $44 million in 2024 into the economy based on research at ECU alone. It is a huge part of ECU making an impact on the state of North Carolina and on our region. We need research to be successful. And so continued investments in this space is not only critical to supporting an institution, but it's critical to supporting the people that we serve all across the East.
Excellent. So what's next?
I think Dr. Das hit the nail on the head. Student success. That for me, that's what I wake up every day breathing and thinking about and focusing on, and making sure that our students come to ECU and have a positive, strong, timely experience and move on to great things in life. And so we're trying to set up the infrastructure to make that happen each and every day. And I know that's where your head has been too.
Absolutely. I was just thinking, as an educator, you spend a lot of time worrying about other people's children. And so when you think about that, you want to make sure students have a great 4 years here at ECU, but also go out and be great. I train students to be, fantastic clinicians, practitioners, and researchers, but I also want them to be good citizens as well, and think about what they gained here at ECU and in Greenville and in Eastern North Carolina, and to share that out into the world.
Sort of what you both just said. I was at a conference this past Thursday and Friday, and I heard a great phrase, and just the way it was phrased is that we hold our students' hopes and dreams in our hands, that is a great responsibility, that they're entrusting us with a good education so that they can have a better career or a better life. And that essentially is what you both said. Did you ever think of it that way? Like that responsibility that we have?
It's a huge responsibility, and I didn't think of it the way that you just described, which is we spend a lot of time taking care of other people's children. And as a dad of two, boy, I'm glad that we have great people like Dr. Das and others that invest their life's work in this space. I was listening to a national higher education thought leader this past week talk about the role and the purpose and the value of higher education, and he said, higher education builds America. And I sat back and reflected on that a little bit, and it's so true. I mean, higher education forms the foundation of our economy, of our society. If you get a higher education degree, you're more likely to be healthier, you're more likely to vote, you're more likely to be engaged in your community, you're more likely to be a well-rounded citizen and participant in our society. And we need more of that in an incredibly complex and often scary world that we live in.
All right. Final thoughts?
I'll say this. I'm very privileged to lead an institution that has the best faculty and staff and students in the country. And I had the opportunity to sit at the pinnacle of higher education at ACE and see a lot of different campuses. No one does it better in terms of delivering on the mission with people that care about it every single day than ECU. I'm so proud to work here and to work alongside folks like Dr. Das and so many others. This is the type of institution in higher education that actually makes a difference. I'm proud to be a part of an effort like this one.
Chancellor Rogers and Dr. Das, thank you both so much for taking part in this episode of Talk Like a Pirate.
Great to be with you.
Well, that's it for Season 6, Episode 2 of Talk Like a Pirate. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen and or watch. We hope you came away from this conversation with more of an understanding of what it means to be a Research One institution. For more information on how being R1 impacts ECU students, faculty, staff, alumni, Eastern North Carolina and beyond, you can either use the link in the podcast episode or YouTube description, or you can go to the web address right here on your screen. Until the next time, please stay safe and healthy, and don't forget, always be yourself. Unless you can be a pirate, then always be a pirate.